Your financial success in life doesn't depend on your income, it depends on your money habits. That's why in this video we'll discuss 8 good money habits so you can find out if you are good with money and also set you up for your rich life. Number 1 is you know where your money goes. That means you have an idea of how much you approximately spend each month on everything. So that includes costs of living like housing, insurances, electricity, Wi-Fi, your phone. And I like to divide costs into fixed costs and variable costs. So those I just mentioned are the fixed costs because they are the same every month. That also makes it easy to know them because you just have to figure them out once. And the other type of costs will be food, cosmetics, going out, eating out, things you just do. And those are the variable costs because they will be a little bit different each month. That's because there are months you go out more often than in others. But if you track your spending for a period of 6 to 3 months, you will also have an average number for that category, so for the variable costs. And knowing what you spend overall each month is also important for another good habit that I will come back to later. Number 2 is you pay cash. And that means you don't buy things with borrowed money. So paying in cash can either mean real cash, like banknotes and coins, and maybe you have heard of the envelope method. That is a simple budgeting technique where you create an envelope for each category you spend on. Then you put cash into those envelopes for each week or each month. And then you're only allowed to spend what's in the envelope in a given time frame, so a week or a month. If spending for you is a real problem, then this can be a very powerful method. I personally don't use it because these days mostly I pay with a card. And that is the other possibility, you can pay with a debit card. And the way we are talking about it here, that also counts as paying in cash because the money is directly transferred from your bank account. And that is opposed to credit cards. Now what about credit cards? There it only counts as paying in cash when you immediately balance it out. So you don't go into credit card debt. I think the only reason to use a credit card, at least up to a certain financial level, is to build your credit score. And this only if this applies to your country. If it doesn't go into the credit score in your country, you don't even need one. If it's a requirement, then it can be helpful to have a credit card, but only if you really pay it off in time. And another reason I think to hold a credit card is for the benefits, insurances or discounts, but that's only when you travel a lot, maybe you even get one from your firm or your company. But I think it really pays off only as of a certain financial level. Mostly there are more downsides like the debt, and that brings us to number 3. Right after I told you that if you want to keep tips on how to build wealth, I invite you to subscribe to this channel because it's all I talk about. Number 3 is you are debt-free. And that includes credit card debt, like we just talked about. It also includes a student loan. Now, even though they are low interest rate, you should try to pay them off as soon as you can. Because any kind of debt for you as a private person adds a level of risk. And it makes you dependent on the creditors and also on your job. So you can keep paying it off. So the sooner you have this off your shoulder, the better. Now the only kind of debt you might have is a low interest rate mortgage. But even this one is not a must at all. I don't have a mortgage, I rent. And if you have one, the same applies as for the student loan. At least in my personal opinion, you should aim to pay it off as soon as you can. Now obviously this concerns a mortgage on your own house. If you're buying real estate as a rental property, so as an investment, then there are different other rules that apply. Being debt-free and also staying debt-free is also one of 2 requirements to live below your means. Because if you only spend on things with money that you actually have, so not going into debt, that means at least staying within your means. And that brings us to number 4, you save. For me, this is the first most important thing on this list. No matter how high your income, you always save a portion from that income. Ideally, it's at least 10%. And you do that right after you receive your income. So you pay yourself first. And only after that, you pay everyone else, so your bills, so to speak. And this is actually the second requirement of living below your means. Because if you only spend what is left after saving, that is below your means. And I'm saying this because this living below your means thing is one of the most important concepts in personal finance. And it's also one of the most powerful ones, because if you really want to build wealth, there is no way around it. Now, I want to take a moment to specify what I mean with saving, because most of the time, saving for bigger purchases like a car or a house is also referred to as saving. But the problem is, once the event occurs, so you buy the house or you buy the car or you do the travel, you spend all that money and you will end up where you started. The money is gone. So I would like to use a more narrow definition of saving. So saving is what you keep, but stays in your possession for a long time, maybe even forever. And to build wealth, wealth, we actually need to keep what we save. Now, of course, you can and should also save for purchases, because being able to spend is also part of being wealthy. I just would do that separately from the other saving. Maybe let's call them save to spend and save to keep. Number 5 is you spend on what you love. That means you are mindful about what you spend your money on. So neither are you trying to keep up with the Joneses, so you buy things not because you want them or you need them, but because you're trying to keep up with other people because everyone else has them. Nor are you spending because it's just small amounts of money. You know, this like, oh, it's just $10 or oh, it's just $50. Or fall into sales tricks like 2 for 1. So you only spend your money on things that you love and that are aligned with your values. And you also take the time before you purchase something, especially when it comes to higher purchasing prices. I sometimes observe or think about things for weeks or even months before I buy them. Number 6 is to have an emergency fund. And that means you have a pile of cash on the side to pay for unforeseeable situations. And this pile of cash will allow you to cover your costs even though you get laid off your job or you get sick and you cannot go to work anymore. Or also smaller things like your car breaks down or something in your flat needs repairment or you have to pay a penalty. My personal recommendation is 6 months of expenses, but I go into detail about this in another video. Number 7 is you invest. And this is the second most important thing on this list, because if you want to get rich, which is what it says in the title, you need to let your money grow. And only saving money without investing it will not be enough to build wealth. So by only saving, you might still be ahead of like 50%, probably even much more than that, of people, like people who don't save at all. But wanting to build wealth without investing is like swimming against the tide. So you have to give your money the opportunity to work for you, and you do that by investing it. And number 8 is you regularly check your financial health. Now, what gets measured gets managed. That means you check at least once a year if you are still on track with all of your good money habits that we talked about. You can do that by tracking certain numbers like your net worth or also how much progress you made in debt reduction, and from there you can find goals to work towards next. Now that you have learned about all the good money habits making you rich, you might want to check if you still have some bad spending habits. Then I recommend this video next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!